The coffee shop smelled like cinnamon and fresh grounds, a cozy escape from the chilly June morning outside. I was at my usual corner table, scrolling through my phone, when I saw her, Ava. She was standing in line, her auburn hair catching the sunlight streaming through the window, her laugh bright as she chatted with the barista. I'd never seen her before, but something about her felt like a dream I'd been chasing my whole life. She wore a green scarf and a denim jacket, her smile so warm it could melt the frost off the windows. I couldn't look away. I'd always been a quiet type, more comfortable with numbers and people. I was studying accounting at the local college, but something about Ava made me want to be brave. When she turned, balancing a latte and a blueberry muffin, our eyes met. My heart did a weird flip, like it knew something I didn't. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, nodding at the chair across from me. Her voice soft but confident. I shook my head, muttering a quick no. And she sat down, her presence filling the space like a melody. "I'm Ava," she said, extending a hand. Her nails were painted a soft pink, and her grip was firm but gentle. "I've seen you here before, always buried in your phone. What's so interesting?" She grinned, teasing, and I felt my cheeks heat up. "Just boring stuff. I'm studying accounting." She raised an eyebrow, sipping her latte. "Numbers guy, huh? I'm more of an art girl. Painting mostly. But I bet you're good at solving mysteries, figuring things out." We talked for hours that day, the coffee shop fading around us. She told me about her love for watercolor, her dream to open a gallery someday, and her quirky habit of naming every plant in her apartment. I told her about my quiet life, my part-time job at a bookstore, and how I'd always wanted to travel, but never had the courage. It felt easy, like we'd known each other forever. When she had to leave, she scribbled her number on a napkin, her handwriting loopy and carefree. "Call me," she said, her eyes sparkling. "I think we're going to be good friends." I walked home that day feeling lighter than I ever had. The streets were wet with recent rain, the air crisp, but all I could think about was Ava, her laugh, her warmth, the way she made the world feel brighter. I didn't know it then, but that napkin, that number, was the start of something that would change everything. I'd found the girl of my dreams, and for the first time, I believed dreams could come true. That night, I texted her, my fingers trembling as I typed a simple, "Hey, it's me from the coffee shop." She replied almost instantly, "Hey, numbers guy. Glad you didn't lose my number." We texted late into the night, her words lighting up my screen, my heart racing with every message. I didn't know much about love, but I knew I wanted to know everything about her. Ava was a mystery I couldn't wait to solve, and I had no idea how deep that mystery would go. It had been 3 weeks since that day in the coffee shop, and Ava had become the center of my world. We'd fallen into a rhythm, texting every morning, meeting up after my classes, her laughter filling the spaces I didn't even know were empty. She had this way of making everything feel magical, like the world was a canvas she was painting just for us. I'd never been happier, but there was a tiny voice in the back of my mind, whispering that it was all too perfect, too fast. I ignored it, though. I wanted to believe in her, in us. That Saturday, we decided to spend the afternoon at the city park. The June air was warm, the sky an endless stretch of blue, and the park was alive with families picnicking, kids chasing frisbees, and couples strolling hand in hand. Ava wore a yellow sundress, her auburn hair loose and catching the sunlight, and I couldn't stop staring. "You're going to trip if you keep looking at me like that," she teased, nudging me as we walked along the gravel path. I laughed, my cheeks warm, and took her hand. Her fingers fit perfectly in mine, like they were made to be there. We found a spot under a big oak tree, its branches heavy with green leaves, and spread out a blanket I brought. Ava unpacked a picnic she'd made, sandwiches, strawberries, and lemonade in a mason jar. "I thought we could use a break from the coffee shop," she said, her smile soft as she handed me a sandwich. The bread was fresh, the turkey and cheese layered just right, and I realized she remembered I didn't like mayo. It was a small thing, but it made my heart swell. "You're amazing," I told her, and I meant it. She just grinned, popping a strawberry into her mouth, her lips stained red. We ate and talked, the hours slipping away like they always did with her. She told me about a painting she was working on, a watercolor of the park at sunset, and I told her about a tricky accounting problem I'd solved at school. It felt so easy, so right? But as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the grass, Ava's smile faded. She set her lemonade down, her hands fidgeting in her lap, and I knew something was wrong. "What is it?" I asked, my stomach tightening. I hated seeing her like this, like a cloud had rolled over her sunshine. She took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the blanket. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. "It's about my dad. He's really sick. Cancer. He's been in the hospital for months, and the bills are piling up. My mom's working 2 jobs, but it's not enough, and I don't know what to do." Her voice broke, and tears welled in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I'd never seen her cry before, and it broke something in me. "Ava, I'm so sorry," I said, pulling her into my arms. She buried her face on my shoulder, her body trembling, and I held her tight, wishing I could take her pain away. "How bad is it?" I asked, my voice gentle. She pulled back, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "The treatments are expensive," she said. "Chemo, meds, hospital stays. We're behind on payments, and they might stop his care if we can't catch up. I've been trying to help, but I can barely cover my own rent." I didn't even think twice. "I'll help," I said, the words out before I could stop them. "I've got some savings. My bookstore job pays okay, and I've been putting money aside for a while. Let me help you." Her eyes widened, a mix of hope and guilt flashing across her face. "No, I can't ask you to do that," she said, shaking her head. "You've already done so much, just being here." But I insisted. "You're not asking. I'm offering. I care about you, Ava. I want to help." She hesitated, then nodded, a small, grateful smile breaking through her tears. "Thank you," she whispered, leaning in to kiss me. Her lips were soft, warm, and for a moment, I felt like a hero, like I could fix everything. We sat there for a while longer, the park growing quieter as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I gave her $500 that day, transferring it from my savings account right there on my phone, and she promised to pay me back when she could. "You're my angel," she said, her hand squeezing mine, and I believed her. That night, as I walked home alone, the air cool against my skin, I felt a strange mix of emotions. I was happy I could help Ava, but there was a tiny knot of worry in my gut. I'd given her a big chunk of my savings, money I'd been saving for a new laptop, but I pushed the thought away. She needed it more. Her dad needed it. I trusted her, loved her, even though I hadn't said it yet. The park lights twinkled in the distance, and I smiled, thinking of her face when I'd offered to help. I had no idea then that those $500 were just the beginning, that Ava's tears were painting a picture I couldn't yet see. The weeks blurred together after that day in the park, each one heavier than the last. Ava and I were still close, meeting up after my accounting classes or art sessions, but the air between us had shifted. It wasn't the easy joy of those first days anymore. Now there was a quiet urgency, a weight I couldn't quite name. I'd given her that first $500 without a second thought, but it didn't end there. Her texts started coming more often, each one laced with worry about her dad's hospital bills, his worsening condition, the endless stream of medical costs. I wanted to be her rock, her support, so I kept helping, pulling money from my savings, my bookstore tips, even skipping meals to stretch my budget. It felt noble at first, like I was proving my love. One evening, we met at the university library, its towering shelves and soffum of turning pages a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. Ava looked tired, her auburn hair tied back in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. She slid into the chair across from me, a cup of tea trembling in her hands. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, her voice shaky. "Dad's had a rough week. The chemo's hitting him hard, and they want to try a new treatment. It's another $1,200. My stomach dropped, but I nodded, forcing a smile. "Okay," I said, pulling out my phone to transfer the money. "I'll figure it out." Her hand covered mine, her touch warm but fleeting. "You're amazing," she whispered, and I wanted to believe it, to hold on to that feeling. By then, I'd given her nearly $2,000, a chunk of my life savings drained in a matter of weeks. I told myself it was worth it. Her dad's life was on the line, and I loved her. We'd spend nights at her apartment, her small space filled with half-finished paintings and the faint scent of turpentine, talking about everything but the money. She'd tell me stories about her dad, how he used to take her fishing, how he'd sing off-key in the kitchen. Each tale painting a picture of a man I'd never met but felt I knew. Yet something nagged at me. The details shifted. One day, she said he was in a private room. The next, it was a shared ward. The hospital names changed, too. Sometimes it was St. Mary's, sometimes a vague, out-of-town facility. I started noticing other things. Her phone would buzz constantly, but she'd angle it away, her fingers quick to dismiss calls. Once, I caught a glimpse of a text, "Need more soon." Before she locked the screen, her laugh too bright as she brushed it off. "Just my mom checking in," she said, but her eyes didn't meet mine. I wanted to ask, to dig deeper, but I didn't. I couldn't bear the thought of doubting her, of breaking what we had. Instead, I gave her another $300 that night. My bank account dwindled into double digits, and she hugged me tight, her tears wet against my neck. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she murmured, and I held her, my mind racing. The campus felt different now. The autumn leaves crunching underfoot as October rolled in, their colors a sharp contrast to the gray clouds settling over me. I'd started skipping meals more often, my jeans looser, my energy fading, but I told myself it was temporary. Ava needed me, and I'd get through it. One afternoon, I sat in the library again, my accounting textbook open but unread, my thoughts on her. A friend, Jake, slid into the seat beside me, his brow furrowed. "You okay, man? You look rough," he said, eyeing my coffee cup. "My third that day." "Yeah, just busy." I lied, but he didn't buy it. "It's Ava, isn't it? You're always running off to help her. What's going on?" I hesitated, then told him about her dad, the money, the late-night calls. Jake's expression darkened. "That's a lot, dude. Have you met her dad? Seen the hospital?" I froze. I hadn't. Every time I'd offered to visit, Ava had an excuse. Visiting hours were over. He wasn't up for guests. It was too far. She says it's complicated. I mumbled, but Jake's words stuck with me. That night, I lay awake in my dorm, the hum of the heater filling the silence, and for the first time, I let myself wonder, what if she was lying? The thought was a knife, twisting deeper with every memory of her tears, her promises. I pushed it down, telling myself I was paranoid, but it lingered, a shadow I couldn't shake. The next day, I met Ava at a small cafe near campus, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans and fresh pastries. She looked brighter, her smile back, and she handed me a sketch she'd done, a portrait of me, my face softened by her pencil strokes. "For you," she said, her eyes shining. "To thank you for everything." I took it, my heart swelling, but that shadow crept in again. I'd given her $500 more that morning, my account now a single-digit balance, and she'd hug me, her gratitude overwhelming. Yet, as we sat there, her phone buzzed again, and she silenced it with a quick flick, her smile faltering for a split second. I watched her sip her tea, her hand steady now, and I wonder how long I could keep believing her story before it all fell apart. The clock on my dorm wall glowed 11:47 p.m., the red digits casting a faint light across my cluttered desk. Outside, the campus was silent, the June night thick with humidity, the occasional rustle of leaves the only sound breaking the stillness. I sat hunched over my laptop, the hum of the fan blending with the distant hum of the heater, my mind racing. I'd given Ava another $600 earlier that day, my bank account now a pitiful $42, and her gratitude had been as warm as ever. A tight hug, a promise to make it up to me. But that warmth was starting to feel like a mask, and the doubts I'd buried were clawing their way to the surface. It had been a month since that park picnic, and the money kept flowing, $2, $800 total now, a number that echoed in my head like a drumbeat. I stopped by new clothes, cut back on coffee, even sold a few old textbooks to keep up. Ava's stories about her dad grew more detailed, his chemo cycles, his favorite nurse, a new experimental drug. But the pieces didn't fit. She'd mentioned St. Mary's Hospital again. So I'd driven past it that afternoon, the sterile white building looming under a gray sky. I didn't go in. I didn't know how to ask, but I Googled their public records later. No Harper listed among current patients. My stomach twisted, but I told myself it could be a privacy thing, a mistake. Still, the knot wouldn't loosen. I texted Jake that night, my fingers hesitant on the keys. "Can we talk?" "About Ava." He replied almost instantly. "Yeah, dude, been worried." "What's up?" We met in the dorm lounge, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the air stale with the scent of old pizza boxes. I spilled it all, the money, the shifting hospital names, her quick phone dismissals. Jake leaned back, his brows furrowed. "That's weird, man. I asked Sarah about Ava's dad once, and she got cagey, changed the subject. Maybe ask around more." His words hit hard, a confirmation I didn't want. I nodded, my throat tight, and headed back to my room, the campus paths slick with dew under my sneakers. Back at my desk, I opened Facebook, scrolling through Ava's profile. Her posts were all art, bright landscapes, still lives, nothing about her dad, no hospital updates. I found an old photo from last year, her smiling with a man who might have been her father, but there were no recent tags, no mentions. My chest ached, a mix of love and suspicion I couldn't untangle. I remembered a night 2 weeks ago at her apartment, when she left her phone on the table. A text popped up, payment due Friday, and she'd snatched it away, her laugh forced. "Just a bill," she'd said, but her eyes darted. I hadn't pushed then, but now it gnawed at me. The night deepened, the clock ticking past midnight, and I couldn't sleep. I grabbed my notebook, scribbling down every detail I could recall, dates, amounts, hospital names, her excuses. It was a mess, but it was something. I thought about calling her, asking outright, but I stopped myself. What if I was wrong? What if her dad was real, and I was the monster for doubting her? I loved her laugh, her sketches, the way she made me feel seen, and the idea of losing that hurt more than the money ever could. Yet the doubts were louder now, a chorus I couldn't silence. The next day, I lingered outside her art class, the hallway buzzing with students, the smell of paint thinner lingering. I saw her through the window, her brush moving with grace, her face focused. She waved, her smile bright, and I waved back, my heart sinking. After class, we walked the quad, the grass damp underfoot, the late afternoon sun casting golden streaks. "Dad's doing better," she said, her tone light. "The new treatment's working. Thanks to you." She squeezed my hand, but I felt a chill. "Better?" she'd said. "He was worsening just days ago." I nodded, forcing a smile, but my mind was racing. I needed proof, something concrete, and I knew I couldn't keep giving without it. That night, I lay awake again, the dorm window open, the cool breeze doing little to ease the heat in my chest. I'd given her $200 more that evening. My account now in the red, and she cried, thanking me like I was her savior. But the tears felt rehearsed, the gratitude hollow. I thought about confronting her, demanding to see her dad, but fear held me back. What if she left me? What if I was wrong? I pulled out my notebook, adding the new amount, the new lie, and stared at the pages. The money was one thing, but the trust, once broken, might be impossible to rebuild. The campus outside was dark, the stars hidden by clouds, and I felt like I was standing on the edge of something I couldn't turn back from. The dorm room felt smaller that night, the walls pressing in as the clock ticked past 11 p.m. The campus outside was cloaked in darkness, the June air heavy with the scent of rain that hadn't yet fallen, the kind of stillness that made every thought louder. I sat on my bed, my laptop open, the glow of the screen harsh against the dim light of my desk lamp. My notebook lay beside me, pages filled with dates, amounts, and Ava's shifting stories. $3, 000 given now. My account overdrawn, my life unraveling. The doubts that had been whispers were now screams, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. I needed the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I'd spend the day digging deeper, my stomach in knots as I searched for answers. I called St. Mary's Hospital again, pretending to be a family friend looking for Ava's dad, Mr. Harper. The receptionist was polite but firm. No record of a patient by that name. Not now. Not in the past year. My heart sank, but I wasn't done. I remembered Ava mentioning a new treatment at a clinic out of town, so I searched online for nearby facilities, calling 2 more hospitals with the same story. Nothing. No Harper. No cancer patient matching her description. The realization hit like a wave, cold and suffocating. There was no sick father. I needed more proof, something undeniable. I opened my banking app, scrolling the transactions I'd sent to Ava. $500, $1,200, $600, $300, $200, $200, each one a stab of regret. I noticed something I hadn't before. The account I'd been sending money to wasn't in her name. It was listed as A. Bennett, not A. Harper. My blood ran cold. Who was A. Bennett? I Googled the name with Ava City, and a social media profile popped up. A guy in his 30s, flashy car photos, party posts, and one picture with Ava, her arms around him, captioned best date ever from 2 months ago. My chest tightened, the room spinning. She wasn't just lying. She was playing me, funneling my money to someone else. I couldn't wait anymore. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking as I dialed her number. It was late, but I didn't care. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice groggy but sweet. "Hey, what's up?" she asked, and I could hear the rustle of sheets, the faint hum of a TV in the background. "We need to talk," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Now, I'm coming over." She hesitated, her tone shifting. "It's late, can't it wait?" But I was already pulling on my jacket. The campus paths slick under my sneakers as I headed to her apartment, the night air biting at my skin. Her apartment building was quiet, the streetlights casting long shadows as I climbed the stairs to her door. I knocked, my heart pounding, and she opened it, her auburn hair messy, her eyes wide with concern. "What's going on?" she asked, stepping aside to let me in. The familiar scent of turpentine and lavender hit me, her half-finished paintings leaning against the walls. But it didn't feel comforting anymore. I held up my phone, showing her the bank transactions, the name, A. Bennett, glowing on the screen. "Who is this?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "Because it's not your dad, Ava. There's no record of him at any hospital." I checked. Her face paled, her hands fidgeting as she backed toward the couch. "I can explain," she stammered, but her voice cracked, betraying her. "It's complicated. My dad, he's in a private facility, off the books, and Bennett, he's helping with the payments." The words tumbled out, too fast, too rehearsed, and I saw the lie in her eyes, the panic she couldn't hide. "Stop," I said, my voice breaking. "Just stop." I saw the photo. "Ava, you and Bennett, 2 months ago. Best date ever. You've been using me." She froze, her mouth opening, then closing, tears welling in her eyes. "It's not like that," she whispered, but I didn't want to hear it. I turned to leave, my chest aching, but her voice stopped me. "I needed the money," she admitted, her tone raw. "Not for my dad. He's fine. It was for other things. I didn't mean to hurt you." I spun around, anger flaring. "Other things? I gave you everything. Ava, I trusted you." She reached for me, but I pulled away, the room suffocating, her paintings blurring to the sting in my eyes. I left her apartment, the night swallowing me as I walked back to campus, my mind a storm of betrayal and heartbreak. The stars were hidden, the air heavy with the promise of rain, and I felt hollow, the dream I'd held on to shattered. I'd given her $3,000, my savings, my trust, and it was all a lie. But as I reached my dorm, a new resolve settled in. I wasn't done. I'd get my money back, every cent, even if it meant taking her to court. The love I'd felt for Ava was gone, replaced by a fire I didn't know I had. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a fight I wouldn't lose. The dorm room was a mess of papers and empty coffee cups. The clock glowing 10:30 p.m. as I sat at my desk, the weight of the last 24 hours pressing down on me. It was Thursday, June 5th, 2025, and the campus outside was silent, the night air heavy with the scent of rain that still hadn't come, the humidity clinging to my skin. My laptop screen glowed with bank statements, text messages, and that damning social media post, Ava and A. Bennett, smiling like I'd never existed. I'd given her $3,000, my life savings, based on a lie about her sick father, and now I knew the truth. She'd played me, and I wasn't going to let her walk away with my money. I was done being the fool. I'd spend the day gathering evidence, my hands steady despite the storm in my chest. I printed every bank transaction, each one a reminder of my trust. $500, $1,200, $600, $300, $200, $200, totaling $3,000 sent to A. Bennett, not Ava Harper. I screenshot our texts, her pleas for help, her promises to pay me back, her gratitude that now felt like a script. I even saved that Facebook photo, the best date ever, caption burning into my memory. My notebook, once a record of doubt, was now a timeline of her deception, every date and detail meticulously logged. I felt like a detective, piecing together a case, but there was no thrill in it, just a hollow ache where love used to be. I called Jake that morning, his voice a lifeline as I explained everything. She lied about her dad. I said, my voice flat, used me for money. I'm taking her to court. He was quiet for a moment, then said, good. You deserve better, man. Let me help. Jake knew a guy, a law student named Ryan, who'd helped a friend with a small claims case last year. We met Ryan at a diner near campus that afternoon, the air thick with the smell of burgers and fries, the jukebox playing a soft tune in the background. Ryan was tall, with sharp eyes and no-nonsense vibe, his laptop open as I laid out my evidence. You've got a solid case, he said, scanning the bank records. It's small claims, up to $5,000, no lawyer needed. File a claim, show your proof, and you'll likely win. His words were a spark, igniting a fire I hadn't felt in weeks. I spent the evening researching small claims court, the university library's quiet stacks of refuge, as I pored over legal guides. The process was straightforward. File a claim, pay a small fee, survey with papers, and show up with evidence. I found the local court's website, downloaded the forms, and started filling them out, my handwriting shaky but determined. I listed the $3,000, attached copies of the bank statements, and wrote a brief statement. Ava Harper deceived me into giving her money under false pretenses, claiming it was for her father's medical bills. I seek full repayment. It felt cold, clinical, but it was the truth. I thought about Ava as I worked. The memories of her laugh, her sketches, her warmth now tainted by betrayal. I'd loved her, or the idea of her, and that made the hurt deeper, a wound I couldn't ignore. But I wasn't that guy anymore, the one who'd given everything for a dream. I was someone new, someone who'd fight for what was mine. I printed the forms, the printers filling the silence of my dorm, and sealed them in an envelope. I'd file them tomorrow, start the process, and there'd be no turning back. I texted Ava that night, my fingers hovering over the keys. I know the truth, I wrote. I'm taking you to court. You'll pay me back. I hit send, my heart pounding, and waited. She replied an hour later. Please, let's talk. I can explain. But I didn't respond. I'd heard her explanations, her tears, and they were empty. The campus outside was dark, the streetlights casting faint pools of light, and I felt a strange calm settle over me. I'd given her my trust, my money, my heart, and she'd thrown it all away. Now I'd take it back, legally, methodically, completely. I leaned back in my chair, the dorm's heater kicking on with a soft rumble, the air warm against the chill in my bones. Tomorrow, I'd file the claim, serve the papers, and start the countdown to court. Ava thought she could use me and walk away, but she was wrong. I wasn't the broken guy she left behind. I was the one who'd make her face the consequences, and I'd do it with every piece of evidence I'd gathered. The night stretched on, the promise of rain still hanging in the air, and I knew this fight was just beginning. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and stale air, the hum of the air conditioning a steady drone as I sat on a hard bench, my hands gripping a folder of evidence. It was mid-July 2025, a few weeks after I'd filed a small claims case against Ava, and the summer heat outside the county courthouse was relentless, the sun glaring through the windows, casting harsh shadows across the floor. I'd barely slept the night before, my dorm room stifling even with the window open, the campus quiet with most students gone for break. Today was the day I'd get my $3,000 back, or at least try to, and I felt a mix of nerves and resolve, the weight of the past months heavy on my shoulders. The judge called my case, my name echoing in the small room, and I stood, my legs shaky but my voice steady. Ava was there, across the aisle, her auburn hair tied back, her face pale and drawn. She wouldn't meet my eyes, her hands twisting a tissue in her lap, and I felt a pang of something, regret, maybe, or the ghost of what we'd had, but I pushed it down. I'd given her $3,000 under the lie of her sick father, a story I believed until I uncovered the truth. No hospital records, no sick dad, just her funneling my money to Abe Bennett, a guy she'd been seeing behind my back. I'd filed a claim, served her the papers, and now it was time for justice. I presented my case first, my voice clear as I laid out the evidence. I showed the judge my bank statements, the $3,000 in transfers to Abe Bennett, not Ava Harper. I handed over screenshots of our texts, her pleas for money, her promises to repay, her gratitude for my help with her dad's bills. I shared the hospital call logs, no record of Mr. Harper, and the Facebook photo of her with Bennett. The caption, best date ever, a bitter twist of the knife. She deceived me. I said, my throat tight. I trusted her, and she used me. The judge nodded, his expression unreadable, and turned to Ava. Your response, he asked. Ava's voice trembled as she spoke, her eyes fixed on the floor. I didn't mean to hurt him, she said, her words soft, almost a whisper. I needed the money, for rent, for art supplies. I made up the story about my dad because I was desperate. I'm sorry. Her apology hung in the air, thin and hollow, and I felt a surge of anger. Sorry didn't erase the months of lies, the meals I'd skipped, the trust she'd shattered. The judge asked if she'd repaid any of the money. She shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks, and I knew I'd won before he even spoke. The ruling came quickly. The plaintiff has provided clear evidence of deceit. The judge said, his voice firm, I award the full $3,000, plus court fees, to the plaintiff. Payment due within 30 days. The gavel banged. A sharp sound echoed in my chest, and it was over. I'd won. Ava didn't look at me as she gathered her things. Her shoulders slumped, and I didn't try to speak to her. There was nothing left to say. I stepped outside, the summer sun blinding after the dim courtroom, the air thick with the scent of hot asphalt and blooming flowers, and I breathed deep, a weight lifting I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. Ava paid me back 2 weeks later, a cashier's check mailed to my dorm with no note, no apology, just the $3,000 and the $50 court fee. I deposited it, my bank account no longer in the red, and felt a quiet triumph, but it wasn't the victory I'd expected. The money couldn't erase the months of doubt, the heartbreak, the nights I'd spent wondering why I wasn't enough. I thought about that first day in the coffee shop, Ava's smile, her laugh, the napkin with her number, how it had felt like a dream. It was a dream, I realized, one I'd woken up from a hard way. I moved on that summer, packing up my dorm, finding a new apartment off campus, a small studio with a window overlooking the park where we'd picnicked. The August air was warm, the park alive with kids and couples. And I'd sit by that window, my accounting textbooks open, my life slowly rebuilding. I didn't hear from Ava again, didn't look her up, didn't want to. She was a chapter I'd closed, a lesson learned in trust and truth. I'd loved her once, but that love had cost me $3,000, yes, but more than that, my innocence, my faith in people. I got my money back, but the scars remained, faint but there, a reminder to guard my heart a little closer. The sun set over the park, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, and I smiled, a real smile, the first in months. I'd fought for what was mine, and I'd won, not just the money, but my self-respect. The dream I'd chased with Ava was gone, but I was building a new one, brick by brick, and this time I'd do it on my own terms.